Scott Jordan. Have you
Yes.
talked to about 40 to 50 students, international students?
Yes.
So, yeah. So they're starting this morning.
Inshallah. Inshallah.
The number attendance might not be many, but most of them are on YouTube or Facebook for this program.
Okay. Okay,
And
good.
the program is also recorded. They can view at any time.
Yeah.
Where the student, before sitting for the exam, they will have to listen to the talk and look at the notes.
Okay.
Are you planning to give some question for the student?
Yeah.
So
Inshallah. Tell me how many questions you want.
about 12 questions.
Hmm?
Yeah. Objective question.
Yeah, yeah.
You'll be corrected online.
Yeah.
Yeah. Inshallah, Jaria will get in touch with you.
Inshallah.
I think it's 9 o'clock now. You can start, Prof.
Okay.
Yeah, when it's 9 o'clock. Yeah, it's not here.
Jaria?
Yeah. I'm
Yeah,
already.
you can start, Jaria.
Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahilladzi ja'ala al-Islam lil muslimina nizama wa anzala al-Qur'an al-Karim dusturan lin-nasi wa bayana wa ja'alahu hikama wa hukama sa'adatuhum fil i'tisami bihablihi wal amali bi awamirihi wa tarki nawahihi wa shiqa'uhum fi ihmalil amali bihi wa ma yahwihi. Allahumma salli wa sallim wa barik ala sayyidina Muhammadin warda. Allahumma an sahabatihi wa alihi alladhi tamassaku bi awamiruddin wa nasharahu naqiyan khalisan lil alamin. Allahumma rzuqna ilma wa barikna fi. Uhayyikum bi tahiyyatil Islam tahiyatan yatibu jadaha miska wa raihana tahiyatan tahmilu fi kulli tiyadiha mahabbatan wa wafa'a. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you to all participants, and alhamdulillah, we thank you to Allah who have given us healthy and chance to come again in our lectures today. And inshallah, we will grab the knowledge with our special lectures today. The lectures by Prof. Omar Hasan Kasule. The subject is the Quran and biological science. May Allah give us the barakah and grab knowledge today. Without further ado, falyatafaddal majurah, Prof.
Yeah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Wassalatu wassalam ala Rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We are continuing this series of lectures on the Quran and biological sciences. The point I am making in all of this is about Allah's sign, Ayatullah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has got two types of signs, ayah Qur'aniyya and ayah kawniyya. There are ayahs in Quran that show the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Those are an intellectual miracle. And then there are ayahs or signs in the environment around us, al-ayat al-kawniyya. So al-ayat al-kawniyya are studied by sciences. Those who study sciences get to know this ayat kawniyya in more depth than those who do not. So what I'm trying to do is to point out this ayatullah in biological sciences. Today I will deal with 3 medical subjects: physiology, biochemistry, and pharmacology. And in the next lectures I will deal with other medical disciplines, and also we will try to summarize all the ayat, all the signs of Allah that we have mentioned in the previous lectures. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, سَنُرِيهِمْ آيَاتِنَا فِي الْآفَاقِ وَفِي أَنفُسِهِمْ حَتَّى يَتَبَانَ لَهُمْ أَنَّهُ الْحَقِّ أَوَلَمْ يَكْفِي بِرَبِّكَ أَنَّهُ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ شَهِيدٌ. This verse says that Allah will show the ayat, the signs, fil afaq, in the environment, wa fi anfusim, and also in the human body, hatta yatabani lahum annahu al-haq, until it becomes clear to them that this is the truth. This word yatabayyan has got a deep meaning, because if I say that the ayatul kawniyya, and it is scientists who understand them, you may ask the question, why are they not believers? The answer is in the Quran. إِنَّهَا لَا تَعْمَى الْأَبْصَارِ. The external eyes don't get blind. وَلَكِنْ تَعْمَى الْقُلُوبَ الَّتِي فِي الصُّدُورِ. But it is the heart that are blind. So many of these scientists, they do a lot of research, and they see ayatullah, but they see them with the external eye. The internal eye is blind, it doesn't see, so they do not become believers. What I'm trying to do in these lectures is to make your internal eye see some of these signs, inshallah. Now, physiology is a subject that studies the functioning of the organism, okay? And it's a very important basic medical science. There is something very special about physiology. This is the concept of a physiological entity. The Prophet ﷺ described the human body as a single physiological entity. This is great, that the whole body is one entity working together, well coordinated, such that if any part of the body is afflicted with illness, the rest of the body is affected and responds. Many of you are aware of lack of sleep. Lack of sleep is a response of the body to any pain, to any problem that it may have. Fever is a very good example. If the body has got an infection, if there is an accident with breakage of the legs, if there is any disturbance in the body, the temperature goes up, which means that this body is all together. When any part of it is affected, the whole body responds, because the body is one physiological entity. The Prophet ﷺ said, ترى المؤمنين في تراحمهم وتواددهم وتعاطفهم كمثل الجسد الواحد. It's like one body. إذا اشتكى عضو, if any part of the body is affected, تداعى له سائر جسده بالسهر والحمى. The rest of the body is affected either by insomnia, lack of sleep, or by fever. So it's very interesting. How did the Prophet ﷺ 14 centuries ago know this concept of the body being one physiological entity? Because we have just discovered it in science. So this is one of the miracles of Islam. Now, this description of 14 centuries ago fits very well with the modern concepts of pathology and physiology. So this is one of the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that somebody who studies medicine in a casual way does not understand. Now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created correlation. Anatomy, which is the structure of the body, and physiology is the functioning of the body, are well coordinated. Every structure is adapted to fit its function, and you cannot find any structure in the body that has no function. And this teaches us about the purposiveness of creation, غاية الخلق, that everything that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created has a purpose, has a function, because Allah did not create us just in a haphazard way. Every creation is deliberate. As Quran says, أَفَحَسِبْتُمْ أَنَّمَا خَلَقْنَاكُمْ عَبَثًا وَأَنَّكُمْ إِلَيْنَا لَا تَرْجَعُونَ. Do you think that we created you in a haphazard way? We were created in a deliberate way, every part of us, the son of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, physiology has got several phenomena. Again, this illustrates the science of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because these phenomena are constant in the physiology of the human body, the animal body, the plant body. It's the same phenomena, indicating this one creator for all of this. Things are repeatable. See, things are very specific. There is specialization. Each body's part is specialized to do certain things. There's complementarity. Different parts of the body help one another, support one another. And then there is a hierarchy of importance in the body. Some parts are more important than others. The brain is the center, is very important. That is why it is protected in the skull, because of its importance. And some of the more important internal organs also have got more protection, like the heart is protected by the ribs so that it doesn't get hurt easily. And the most important thing is information processing. The body collects a lot of information and processes it very quickly. People who have computers will be surprised that the speed of processing information in the human body is much higher than what they can anticipate. In fact, they don't even think that they can reach that speed of processing. One of the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that of anticipation. The body is made in such a way that it anticipates problems. There could be compensation for injury or overload. That's why each organism is ready to deal with sudden changes. Now, and each organ has got excess capacity. The heart has got functional capacity, but this can increase in case of need. So the body is ready for increased work. Now, also, if any part of the organ is damaged, the other part takes over. I told you before about the left and right brain. If one is destroyed, the other one can take over. But even within one organ, like for example, you don't need both kidneys. You can live on one kidney. But also, if one of those kidneys is affected, the other part can take over and take up the increased overload. So palliative organs, which we talked about as zawjiyah, as one of Allah's sign, is one of the ways of anticipation, because each organ exists as two. So if one is damaged, the other one can take over, so that we can compensate for overload in special situations. Now, before I continue, I will look in the chat to see if anybody has a question. Okay, let us continue. Now, another signs of Allah in physiology is what we call the circadian rhythm. Things in our body occur according to a frequency. Every 24 hours, things occur. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about this daily or called diurnal variation, because we have night and day. We sleep at night and work during the day. This is the rhythm according to which the body was created. هو الذي جعل لكم الليل لباسا. Allah made the night a garment for you. وجعلنا نومكم سباتا, and we make your sleep subatan, a rest. وجعلنا الليل لباسا وجعلنا النهار نشورا. So these are verses that talk about day and night as part of this rhythm. Things occur in a 24-hour cycle. Some things at night, some things are during the day. Now, what's very interesting is that during the day, the mental and physical functions are at their maximum. During the day, these are your maximum, and there is more tissue growth and there is more digestion. That's why we need to have children awake, because sometimes they need to grow. But during sleeping hours, the muscles are less active, respiration is less, the heart is less, and the blood pressure and others are less during sleeping hours. But what's interesting is that in sleeping hours, the brain becomes more active in that it starts sorting out all the information it got during the day. During the day, the brain sees a lot of things. So at night, it tries to sort them out, to understand. So it's very interesting to see that the brain is actually more active at night. Actually, you are dreaming. When you dream, is actually the brain trying to sort out the information you saw during the day, classifying it, and storing it. And that's why most of us in dream, we go over what happened during the day. So body temperature varies according to this 24-hour rhythm, and light and darkness are very important. For example, the 24-hour rhythm is controlled by the light. The light of the sun goes into our eyes, and it stimulates a chemical called melatonin to keep us awake. And that is why when you are traveling by air, sometimes if they want you to sleep, they switch off the lights, because when the lights are on, melatonin is active and you are awake. So this whole idea about the circadian rhythm, the 24-hour variation in our bodies, is another sign of Allah that we need to be aware of. Now, another medical discipline is what we call biochemistry. This is the chemistry of life, basically. Bio means life, chemistry is chemistry. So it studies the chemicals inside the body and the components and how they react. Now, biochemistry studies metabolism. Metabolism means the processes of dealing with the food that we eat, break it up, create new molecules from it, synthesize enzymes. So all of these chemical reactions require enzymes, which are special chemicals inside the body. The rules of body chemistry are the same rules as the chemistry that you encounter in the laboratory. These are sunanullah, these are Allah's laws. What goes on in the body is exactly the same as occurs in the laboratory. Now, when we look at the chemical structure of the body, we see another sign of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is complexity from simplicity. See, the human body is made up of a few chemicals. They are not many. You can count them. But it's these few chemicals that are responsible for all the complex processes that is going on. And you see the carbohydrates and lipids are just one or two molecules. These are simple, but they are responsible for the complexity. So you have complex function out of simple structure. And one of Allah's signs is the water molecule. Water, as we mentioned, one of the verses of the Quran, وَجَعَلْنَا مِنَ الْمَاءِ كُلُّ شَيْءٍ حَيٍّ. Water is the basis of life. So all chemical reactions require water to go on in the body. Now the water molecule is made in a different way from other molecules. It is neither acid nor alkaline. And it's a very good solvent. Water can dissolve many things. So it is able to play different roles inside the body. And without it, really, we cannot continue. Now, one of the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that before we distinguish between organic and non-organic, organic means comes from a living thing, and non-organic comes from a non-living thing. But in 1928, this division was broken because they were able to synthesize urea. Urea is a chemical that is found in our urine. They were able to synthesize it in the laboratory, again showing that the human body is on a continuum with everything in the environment, that these chemical compounds are not unique to us. We find them also in the environment, and everything follows the same sunan, the same laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He said. It's very interesting that although we understand all the chemical reactions in the body, we are not able to create life by replication of these chemical reactions. You cannot say, okay, now I know all the chemical reactions of the body, let me go to the lab and create life. You cannot, because this is only the work of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, let me see if there is a question. Okay, there's no question, just a greeting. So what do we learn from the chemistry of the body? That everything is purposive. Everything was created with a purpose. Everything is well organized, and everything is integrated. You see? And so it's so well organized that you can predict chemical reactions. And these are all things that if somebody has got the inner eyes open, they will come to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The chemical reactions of the body are called metabolism. These are very detailed. They involve breakup of food and use of the food to do various functions or to make different products. We will not go through those. Those are very specialized. And also metabolism releases energy, because the body needs energy, and there is energy in the food. So metabolism creates that energy for the body to do. Now, one thing that we need to remember is that the body is more efficient in transforming material into energy. See, the car, for example, it uses petrol and transforms it into energy that drives the car. But the efficiency of transformation is very low. It doesn't come anywhere near the efficiency of the liver of the human body in getting energy from the food that we eat. Let me point out this one also min ayatillah, that that the metabolic processes at the cellular level are the same. Plants, animals, and microorganisms, they all behave in the same way, although they are very different, but the chemical reactions are exactly the same. And also metabolism obeys laws of physics, like the first law of thermodynamics about conservation of energy. Energy cannot be created or cannot be destroyed. You can only change its form. So the body obeys this law and agrees with physics. So this is just showing us that there is one creator for everything, because the sunan are the same. Sunanullah walan tajid sunnatillahi tabdila. The laws are fixed, you cannot change them. Now, another signs of Allah is predictability. The body doesn't work in haphazard function. You can predict what will happen. This starts with the periodic table of elements. Those of you who studied chemistry, you know that you can predict how an element will behave. Now we have more than 100 elements according to its position in the table. It means Allah created this universe according to certain fixed laws. So things are not by chance. Things are predictable. So many physiological processes in the body are really predictable, and many of them are cyclical. You know, they keeps on repeating and repeating and repeating. So these are all signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the creation of the body. Enzymes are another interesting thing. The chemical reactions of the body require enzymes to work. The enzyme is a very small molecule, but it's the catalyst that enables everything else to work. And there are many enzymes, and they do a lot of functions inside the body. Now I want to cover something very interesting. New synthetic molecules. As humans, we tinker with atoms and molecules, and we create new molecules. Like plastic is something new that we created. It was not in nature. We have created many medicines that were not in nature. But this is a miracle of biology, that whatever new medicine humans make, the body is ready to metabolize it, is ready to work with it, which means that this one of Allah's sunnah, Allah made the body able and ready to deal with something new that humans will make later on. We have not come across a new molecule that we make that the body is not able to take care of. Now, okay, let me see if there is a question. It's in the chat. Okay. Okay, no question. Now I want to move on to the third discipline, which is pharmacology. This has to do with the drugs. It's a study of drugs. Now, the structure of the drug is related to its function. And I just want to say that again, all the new drugs that have been made by humans, the body is able to metabolize them, which means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knew in advance that humans will make this medicine, and there are enzymes, there are receptors that can deal with a new drug. Usually drugs hold on to something called receptors. These are on the surface of the cell. They attach or they bind to the receptor, and then they are able to make changes inside the cell. So I ask myself, how come that there is a specific receptor in my cell for any new chemical that is made? This means there is a creator, a great creator who anticipated everything and knew in advance what will happen. Now, the human body responds to drugs that we take, and of course that's how they cure us. But sometimes they do not cure us. The body actively responds to the drugs according to Sunanullah that Allah prepared. Can someone, let me see, can we hope that okay, we have muted that one. There is what we call autonomic pharmacology. The body, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created in our body systems that control the body automatically without us knowing. In fact, sometimes we behave as if we are in charge. When you learn more about medicine, you realize that you are in charge of very little. You control very little of your body. You know, you can control what you chew, also some of your movements, externally, what you eat. But then that's all. Most of the functions of the body go on without your control or even without your knowledge. This is what we call autonomic. Like digestion of food, you can put the food inside your mouth, but what happens to it after that, you have no control over it. So this is a lesson to us that however proud we are, we really control very little, even in our own bodies. So this should make us humble. So the autonomic nervous system is a series of chemicals that the body releases to control certain things. Most of the times the fight or flight reactions. When we are afraid, we get more adrenaline. It makes our body strong to face the situations. So this autonomic system controls most of the body functions that go on inside us. Most of the time your intestines are moving, your muscles are moving, but you have no control. And an intelligent person should realize that as a human, your power is limited. It's limited to the outside only. Most of what goes on is not under your conscious control, not even your knowledge of what's going on inside your own body. What about the bodies of others? Pharmacology also has got something interesting in that we've got what we call anesthetics. These are the ones that can change our sensation. It's, these ones do it by interfering with the neurotransmitters, with the chemicals that transmit sensation. Again, it's very useful in medicine. I want to end this part of the presentation by going over the great sunan, the big laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that are in biology. Periodicity. We already talked about the 24-hour biological rhythm. You know, every 24 hours things change. Sleep and wake up. It's 24 hours. Now, the lunar changes. Our sisters, for example, have got changes that occur every 29.5 days. They follow the moon. Okay. Also, there are some changes that occur on an annual basis. You notice it in plants and in animals. Changes occur on an annual basis. So this periodicity, subhanallah, you find that these biological rhythms inside our body also follow the cosmic bodies. Like the 24-hour changes follow the sun and the moon. The 24-hour appearance and disappearance. The monthly changes, like in our sisters, they follow the moon. Also, the annual changes that occur. This indicates that the creator of the human body and the creator of these cosmic bodies outside is the same. And that all of these follow the same sunan, they follow the same laws. And these laws were made by the same creator. Now, we talked about cyclicity. Our life is in cycles. You know, you are born very small and weak, and then you grow up, get very strong, and then in old age you go back to being what you did when you were young. As Quran says, Ya ayyuhan nas, in kuntum fi raybin min al-ba'thi, fa inna khalaqnakum min turab. Quran says we are created from the soil, from a nutfa, then from a sperm, from an alaqa, from an mudghah. These are tissues that happen in the uterus. And then وَنُقِرُّ فِي الْأَرْحَامِ, we put you in the uterus for the period that ajali musamma, for a certain period of 9 months. ثُمَّ نُخْرِجُكُمْ طِفْلًا, then we take you out as a baby. لِتَبْلُغْ أَشُدَّكُمْ, and then you grow up to reach your maturity. مِنْكُمْ مَنْ يُتَوَفَّى, some of you die early. وَمِنْكُمْ مَنْ يُرَادُ إِلَى أَرْذَلِ الْعُمُرِ, some of you live to very old age. And Quran says, لِكَيْ لَا يَعْلَمَ مِنْ بَعْدِ عِلْمٍ شَيْئًا, you grow so old that you no longer know anything, like you go back to be like a baby. So this is cyclicity of life that Allah SWT created, and human beings should learn from this cyclicity. It starts from weakness and end up from weakness. And part of the cyclicity is we are created from the soil, we go back to the soil. مِنَا خَلَقْنَاكُمْ, we created from the soil. وَفِيهَا نُعِيدُكُمْ, and we return you to the soil. وَمِنَا نُخْرِجُكُمْ تَارَةً أُخْرَى, يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ will take you from the ground once again. So cyclicity is part of biology. We have got many cycles in the body. Like the woman has got an ovarian cycle every month, uterine cycle every month, cervical cycle. You know, it changes every month. The cyclicity, it goes on changing every month. I already talked about menstruation. Now, human menstruation is different from what you call estrus in animals. Estrus is supposed to be the equivalent of human menstruation, but the human one is different in that it is every month, whereas the animals get this estrus maybe once a year, not all the time. But all of these are creations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, one of Allah's signs that things are constant and predictable, and that is why we can do diagnostic tests. Otherwise, they would have no meaning. If, for example, they do a test on your blood today, in the morning, in the afternoon, the doctor cannot make use of that test because things are not constant or predictable, but they are constant. So the findings from your diagnostic test on blood in the morning is also true in the afternoon and again in the next day, which means things are constant and predictable. Similarly, when they look at your MRI or CAT scan, the things that they see are constant. You see them now, you see them tomorrow, and they indicate disease, then you can treat it. So this constancy and predictability are again one of the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, I think I will stop here and allow some questions, and then we'll have another lecture. Okay, yes, we have a few more minutes. I have some other presentation on microbiology. Okay, some questions?
Okay, to all participants, if any one of you want to have a question, you can raise your hand or write in the chat box. Now we are allowed to have a question Q&A.
Okay. Okay, so in the remaining 15 minutes.
Prof, we have a
Yes?
question in the chat box from Rafi'ah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me
Prof,
look for.
could you please repeat about receptor?
Okay, receptor. Okay, receptors have some to do with the drugs and medicines. When we take a medicine, it will do things to our cell. But how does it do it? The cell already in advance on each surface has got many receptors. is a part of the cell that's called a receptor, and it's specific for each drug. It means each drug goes to this receptor that's specific to it. Then it binds on that receptor, and through it can enter the cell and make a change. The miraculous part of it is that these receptors were made by Allah a long time ago, but they anticipated all types of drugs that humans make. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did anticipate that artificial molecules that we make can fit those receptors. It's one of the miracles of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the receptors are on the surface of the cell. They are not inside the cell. Because if they are inside the cell, they will create problems with the chemicals inside the cell. So always they are on the surface. They are there to receive the drugs, and the drugs exert their actions through the receptors. Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Now in the next 10 minutes or so, I will talk also about another discipline, pathology and microbiology and parasitology. Again, these are Allah's signs. As we study these subjects, we think about Allah's signs, ayatullah fil kawn. And that's a great thing, that if somebody is reading or doing research, you are seeing the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You need to think about them. They should increase your iman. Now, there is a question here I can deal with. How can we differentiate something like from heart or the brain? Yeah, well, the cells of the body are different in appearance depending on where they are. The brain cells are different, the heart cells are different. But their metabolism, their internal function is all the same. So sometimes you cannot understand how the same chemistry produces something different in the brain, different from that of the heart. Again, that's a miracle of Allah's creation. Yeah. Okay, someone is asking me to talk more about the drugs, from absorption to metabolism to excretion. Inshallah, and distribution, inshallah, I will get this PowerPoint available. Because of shortage of time, I didn't go into those details. You can read, inshallah, in the PowerPoint. Now, let us look at pathology. Pathology is the study of disease processes. How does disease occur? The thing that is one of Allah's signs is the concept of the final pathway in cell injury. It doesn't matter what is going to cause the disease, but the final pathway, what actually happens in the cell, is the same. Whether the injury is from lack of oxygen, hypoxia, physical agents like heat or electricity, chemical agents, drugs, whatever is causing the disease, but the final manifestation of the disease in the cell is the same. So it doesn't matter the cause is, but the final result, what we call final common pathway, is the same. And many things happen in this final pathway. Some cells die, called apoptosis, and okay, yeah. Also, there may be accumulation of dangerous chemicals. But the point is that whatever injury occurs to the cell, the final result is usually the same. And these are the processes that happen in the body. Could be inflammation, healing, pus formation, genetic anomalies. These are the pathological processes that we come across. But all of these, their final appearance tends to be the same. You know, just before somebody dies, the final product of all of this tends to be the same, these different pathological manifestations. Now, another discipline we have in medicine, that of microbiology. This is the study of small organisms, viruses, bacteria, and before science developed, they thought of spontaneous generation. They thought that these organisms arise out of non-living things, like soil will become bacterium. But until later on, we realized that these organisms grow from living microorganisms. That's biogenesis. Now, study of these small organisms, because it is easier, enabled us to understand our body better. Because as I said, the physiology, the pharmacology of all creation is similar. The chemical reactions you find in the plant are the same as in the animals, are the same as in human beings, are the same as in the bacteria. So when you study the bacteria, you will understand the human body even better. So I think we'll stop here and take questions. If any, we have, I think, 4 minutes to go. And yeah. تفضلوا.
In the chat bar, we have 2 questions, Prof. One from Said Gul Khan. He asked that, how can we differentiate something like from heart or brain?
Yeah. Okay. The cells of the heart and the brain are very similar in terms of their components and their function. But there are differences. There are differences depending on where they are, because they do different things in the heart and the brain. So you can see, when you look at the cell, you can see it's different externally. Also, the functions may be different. But a lot of the metabolism is the same. So there is more similarity between the heart and brain cell than there are differences. Why do they do different things in different places? This is Allah's sunan, Allah's creation. Yeah. The second question was about, they wanted more details about pharmacology. I talked only about metabolism, but I didn't talk about the other things. There is absorption, metabolism, excretion, and distribution. But I said they may be in the notes, because those are details. And we don't have time, so I didn't go over those.
Thank you, Prof. We have one more question. Can be answered, Prof?
Yes. Where is it?
Just coming.
I don't see it in the chat. Let me see.
Okay, in the chat, from one from Abdullah, and one more question from Jamal. From Abdullah, he asked, Prof, talk about the 4th chain of drugs. You have talked only one metabolism, so more light on exception that Allah created on,
I have answered that one. I said those are details I didn't go through because of time.
Okay. And one more question here from Ajmal. He asked about, can body heal itself without external drug or mechanism?
Yeah. Most of the time the body heals itself. The body heals itself most of the time, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created mechanisms that when there is an injury, the body takes measures to deal with the injury. And actually, medicine helps the body heal itself. What we do when we give medicine is we are supporting the process of self-healing by the human body. We do not replace it. We just support it and help it and strengthen it. For example, cancer. When you've got cancer, the body tries to destroy the cancer cells. But the cancer surgeon will cut away as much of the cancer as is possible, so the body will have fewer body cells to deal with. Chemotherapy will decrease, but the body will do the rest. So in all diseases, the body has mechanisms for dealing with the disease. If it's an infection, it has got antibodies that fight the organism that has entered into your body. If it's a physical injury, there is repair. The body can repair where the injury has occurred. So our job really in medicine is to help the body heal itself. And most of the time the body heals itself because the healing was created within the body. In a few cases, it cannot heal itself, then we need to interfere more. But even when we interfere, we still are helping the internal processes. Yeah. Okay. This is the same question, so I think we have answered it.
Thank you very much, Prof. I think because we have already passed the time, and thank you very much for your wonderful lectures today, Prof. And I hope all the participants can grab all the knowledge. And with that, may Allah grant you with Jannatul Firdaus.
Assalamu alaikum.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Welcome, Prof. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Prof. See you again next week, inshallah.
Prof. Yusuf?
Yes, I'm here now.
Yeah. Can you try to share screen first, Prof?
Okay. Inshallah.
Thank you, Prof. Yusuf, for able to accommodate your
Okay, thank you.
this morning, inshallah.
Can you see my slide?
Oh, okay.
Can you see my slide now?
Yes,
Yes,
Prof,
yes,
can,
yes.
but full screen, full screen.
All right.
Okay. Okay, now we will continue our lectures with Prof. Prof. Muhammad Yusuf Othman in the subject Al-Qur'an Physical Science. Falyatafaddal ma'jurah, Prof.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Rabbil alamin wassalatu wassalamu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Madam Juara, Professor Dr. Jamal, and ladies and gentlemen, first of all, thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to have extra time. I listened to Professor Omar just now, but I'm not going to deal with physical science, but I'm going to deal with the philosophy of science. Maybe next time I will prepare for the physical science, because we have done a lot in the astronomy and also in the world of atom, whatever it is. Maybe we can share, but not this time. Okay, I will continue my lecture from last week. I mentioned last week that this will have a very long history of civilization, and we talk about this. Every civilization have their own perspective of development, what they want to develop, and of course, science and technology is a must for them in order to develop this civilization. So today, I just want to share with you about the history of science itself, and plus what is the secular science. And inshallah next week for the final lecture, I will discuss a little bit with you can we bring back science in the mold of Islam, as what our scholars like Al-Khwarizmi, Jabir bin Hayyan, Al-Biruni, Ibn Haytham, and so on, put in the mold of Al-Qur'an? Is it possible? And if possible, how can we do it? But only suggestion from, actually this is part of our research group at UKM, when I was at UKM together with Prof Khalijah about more than 10 years ago. Okay, according to Canby, I mentioned to you several times that our civilization is about 10,000 or 12,000 before century, so mean about not more than 15,000 years old, because before that we have ice age civilization, which is the human being, according to ecology, is very hard to find the evidence that there is a human activities before the establishment of a Jericho city in Jerusalem. So, which is about 10,000, and then we have so many knowledge was developed. Of course, Prophet Noah alayhi salam did build his ark. Then that ark cannot be built without the assistance of science and technology. Of course, he received revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide him in order to make the ark, but how to grow that particular plant or thick wood and whatever it is, he has to have his own mind. So in that particular era, we do not know the term that they use in order to develop, either it is science, technology, whatever, because that term didn't exist at that time. And the earliest terminology, the earliest terminology people know about knowledge is philosophy. And according to some scholars, this terminology was introduced by Pythagoras. Pythagoras is the father of mathematics, is the one who have that Pythagoras theorem. And according to Einstein, the letters that I read from some of his articles, he said that that is the exact one. 3 squared plus 4 squared equal to 5 squared, which is a triangle developed by Pythagoras. And then that is according to some scholars. But in the Greek philosophy, in the Greek era, they call it philosophy, because philosophy means love of wisdom. Wisdom is the systematic study of general and fundamental question. This was done by, I mentioned to you several times, by Socrates. He designed question by put forward his question, and then try to get the answer rightly, so he can get the knowledge, the truth about the things. So, but unfortunately for him, when he asked about natural phenomena, it's okay, but when he start to ask about God, about the human being, whatever it is, and then he was asked by the authority, and then they put him on trial. So philosophical method include questioning, discussion, rational argument, and systematic what we are doing right now. In fact, some say that in our court, normally we use a type of questioning based on question put forward by Socrates in order to find the truth. So you have to have a two-person argue among themselves, and the accused will tell the defense counsel. So, and then also the prosecutor try to give evidence saying that the accused was guilty or whatever it is. So finally, they want to find the truth. So natural philosophy only discuss on the natural phenomena. So in science, we are concentrating on this natural philosophy. That's why if you read a book by Newton write book on the natural philosophy. Actually, the book is only physics, the fundamental of physics. If you read the book, now you can buy that his manuscript, because they can translate into the contemporary English so that we can understand. Otherwise, a bit difficult, because his writing was in Latin, not in English, because in those days, Latin was considered as the language of for knowledge. Okay, so in Greek civilization, they call it natural philosophy, and this is clearly must be secular. But in Islam, normally when we discuss about this in our group, they call it in Malay, they said that this is ilmu kalam. Said Najib used to say about ilmu kalam. Actually, ulumul kalam. And when I open dictionary, what does it mean by kalam? They said that actually the full thing is kalamullah, meaning that the knowledge from God. So we can get knowledge from God by three methods. One is revelation, which is Al-Qur'an, wahyu, revelation. And number two is hadith, narrated by Rasulullah SAW, said by Rasulullah and narrated by his sahabat. And the authenticity of this hadith is very clear. People don't refute it. And the third one, according to Ibn Haytham, is the world itself, is the natural phenomena itself. This is based on the Surah Al-Imran, verse 190, I think. Inna fi khalqis samawati wal ard wa ikhtilafil layli wan nahari la ayatin lil albab. That means in the creation of heaven and earth, and the creation of day and night, there is ayatullah, there is sign of God for ulul albab. So that's why people consider that scientists as ulul albab, who can understand the sign of God. So this is another category of knowledge according to Ibn Haytham. So we have three, that one, but the status of these three knowledge, of course, different. The highest is revelation, the second one hadith, and also the ijma ulama, whatever it is, try to explain hadith. And of course, the knowledge based on natural phenomena. But based on natural phenomena, scientists or the one who observe the natural phenomena must have equipped himself with process how to get information. That one. Number two is the process how to analyze the information. Number three, the process how to improve the knowledge from this natural phenomena from one generation to another generation. That's why you can see we start with the plant need water in order to grow, plant need sunlight in order to grow, and then people find out what happened if we cover the leaf of the tree with something which cannot be penetrated by sunlight, for instance. So then we go further and asking that what happened to that, and then why is that? And finally people go deeper and deeper and find there is a stomata, there is chlorophyll, and so on, and become detail. So when you observe things, so you have to you have to observe intensively. That is the science. So, but I have to mention here, not all philosophical knowledge can be considered as ulumul kalam. This is mentioned by Al-Ghazali in his Tahfud al-Falasifa, the incoherent of the philosophers, because among the philosophers himself, so they are, some knowledge are not understood, refute each other. So that's why in conclusion, Al-Ghazali mentioned in Tahfud al-Falasifa saying that not all philosophical knowledge Natural phenomena is okay, but knowledge based on revealed knowledge, you have to have another approach. For instance, I keep mentioning to you many times, you know what happened to Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam when he was thrown into fire by Namrud and didn't burn. That is not scientific phenomena. That is purely mu'jizat. That is Allah would like to help Ibrahim alayhi salam because of the bad thing done by Namrud. So, meaning that the natural philosophy, the knowledge based on natural phenomena does not absolute. Sometimes can be interfered by God. So a lot of history or a lot of evidence in Al-Qur'an, that's why we call it mu'jizat. Similarly, what happened in the Isra Mi'raj. So I know in Malaysia in particular, there is a lot of scholars, including those who hold PhDs, they would like to convince the audience that we can scientifically explain the occurrence or the Isra Mi'raj phenomena. So I think Isra Mi'raj phenomena is not scientific in terms of what we have right now. Maybe we have to develop another method, because it involves a lot of world, a lot of like when Rasulullah went to Jannah to Ma'wa, and Jannah is not in this world. So according to very basic principle in physics, if you move from one world to another world, you cannot use parameter in the first world in order to justify the second world. For instance, if you live in water, you know, you cannot use the parameters in water in order to justify what happened in this real world on the earth. So similarly, if you go to other worlds, so you cannot use this world, the dunya world, this world, dunya fana, this world that we have right now, in order to explain another world. What Allah tells us is that we are going to have that. Somebody is going to put in Jannah and somebody will put in fire. But those who are in fire is already described to Rasulullah SAW during his Isra Mi'raj. But Isra Mi'raj is not scientifically, it's not natural phenomena. So that's why Al-Ghazali said not all philosophy are forbidden. Some is forbidden in Islam, meaning that the natural philosophy approach cannot be used in order to describe the mu'jizat thing. So in Western civilization, come after Islam in the 17th century, because the conflicts, like what happened to Socrates, because the conflict between Socrates and the leadership at the time, the people in the religious people. So this also happened in the Western side after, in about 17th century. You can read from book what happened to Galileo Galilei when he got problem with the Urban VIII, and then finally they put Galileo Galilei on trial, and they found him guilty, and his student, I think Bruno something, was put on fire and was killed because of the acceptance of the scientific phenomena, because they say that this world that we stay is not the center of universe. It is just it's moving around the sun. So doctrine of church at that time saying that this world is the center of universe. Okay, so then we go to what is science. So I have to explain to you a little bit. Science is a new word. So I mentioned to you just now, the first word is philosophy. But philosophy, they discuss about natural philosophy. The second word in Islam introduced by Muslim is the ulumul kalam. Ulumul kalam, knowledge based on Al-Qur'an, Sunnah, and also natural phenomena. So we put together, combine together. And as a Muslim, we know our limits. When we discuss about science, we know the limit of science. For example, we cannot discuss about happiness by using scientific approach. So, and then we know that. And we know what is hadith, and we know what is the importance of hadith, what is the hadith mean to us. And Al-Qur'an, we know about Al-Qur'an. So even we know that the Qur'an is a mother of all this knowledge. That's why Allah make a comparison that your knowledge combined together is like a drop of water in ocean compared to knowledge of God. So how can this a drop of knowledge can explain the knowledge of the ocean? So of course the answer is impossible. So you have to have a very bigger knowledge in order to understand the smaller one. That's why people worry about this Chat GPT, whatever it is, because those who are holding that technology didn't have that bigger knowledge in order to filter, in order to analyze all the information coming from Chat GPT, whatever it is. This is being discussed, I think, in social media right now. People worry about this because some of the Muslim students, particularly in Malaysia, they keep discussing about religion without attending any class, and then they ask Chat GPT to find for them what is iman, what is faith, what is, halal and haram and so on. And when Chat GPT give the answer, they think that this is absolute, this is better than whatever ustaz or whatever teacher can give it to them. But this is the problem that we are facing right now. So what is science? So according to Peter Medor, the science actually come from Latin words. It's only about 250 years old. It's not about 17th, 18th century. Remember, I mentioned to you just now, even Isaac Newton wrote in Latin, not in English. So it's still the term convert into English is scientia. So in Latin, scientia means systematic knowledge, meaning that you have to systematize your ideas. So that's why when you try to explain the Isra Mi'raj, for instance, you cannot give the reason. So people find, like, what is Borak? The animal used by Rasulullah SAW from Mecca to Masjid Al-Aqsa and then accompany him. So people start to describe that. So, but most of ulama say no, don't try, because this is another world. No, according to Pak Hamka, which I read several times about his explanation, don't try to, because there is no, Sahih hadith mentioning about that type. But we know that he went for Isra Mi'raj very fast. During one night, a lot of event happened to him. He prayed in Masjid Al-Aqsa. He saw a lot of Ahlul Nar, who are doing wrong in this world, and then he was, he visited the Jannatul Ma'wa, and just within one night. Your mind cannot think. I myself cannot think. So the science cannot be used in order to understand this type of knowledge. So that's why in the old days we said Islamic science, which we try to introduce the term, because our science is not secular science, but still under the Islamic morals, the Islamic teaching, or the Islamic approach, not as a secular science where they have to put religion aside in order to develop their science. But that didn't happen to Muslim scholar in the heydays, in the golden age of Islam. And then so this is so another problem with Islamic science, that in Arabic is called al-umur al-umul al-islamiyah, ulumul islamiyah, which means that the knowledge of Islam. So now when we talk about the knowledge of Islam, it's not knowledge include the natural science, human science, and so on. So whatever described in Islam is ulumul Islam, ulumul islamiyah. So it's a bit difficult. So some people, but as a scientist, what we mean by Islamic science is the science, a secular science from Islamic perspective. But what this word means is the science of Islam. When the science of Islam means everything about what is being taught by Islam is Islamic science. So the term itself is confusing. But there are also some work by some scholars, they try to compare between whatever said in Al-Qur'an and whatever finding in their when they look at the phenomena, like Omar Kasule just mentioned about in biology, and try to compare with Quran. Similarly, what happened to Maurice Bucaille? Maurice Bucaille was a medical doctor, and he tried to compare, because he was very religious, Christian, he tried to compare Bible and science. He found a lot of things it doesn't go. It's contradict the argument in Bible and the argument in science keep on contradict. But he said it's okay, maybe that is the nature of religion. But when he was invited by Saudi, to be the expert in the hospital, and he start looking at the Quran, and he came to the Surah Al-Hajj, verse number 5, about how the stages of human being, from sperm, ovum, and then alaqah, nutfah, and so on, and become old, and so he find out this is correct, 100% correct. So he make another writing, Quran and Science, and then he wrote the book Quran, Science, and Quran, Bible, and Science, and it's become we said a popular book, but actually because he was the president of Medical Association of France, and he has to leave his post, and then he find a lot of whatever in Al-Qur'an is similar what he know in science. Similar with Ismo, who just passed away several years ago, and unfortunately, when he tried to have some school in Saudis, try to put to explain some of scientific phenomena together with the Quran, like some our brothers in USIM, University of Islam Malaysia, doing right now. And he was arrested by somebody, and he said he don't want to do anymore, and he passed away at the age of 96, I think. And Harun Nahya is a bit controversial, but same thing. So some people try to compare some the scientific verses from Al-Quran and try to compare with the evidence of science. So the best approach is not the comparative study. The best approach, I think, is the epistemological approach. That is the best way I think we can do it. So, but in order to understand the Islamic science from this epistemological approach, we have to understand what is the problem of current science or secular science. So we start, thinking about new science, which we call it Tawhidic science. But unfortunately, due to this, about this thing, when colonialists come to colonize the Muslim country, they put their system of education, and of course their system of education was secular, and of course they taught our people, and they said who got degree in medical, they can practice in the hospital, but who got medical from other system, they don't accept it. Similarly, if you don't pass your degree in engineering by their system, you don't allow them to build any building, wherever it is. So then the Islamic knowledge become marginalized during that era. So when we got independent, not only Malaysia, I think anywhere in the world, we try to establish our own system of education. So people like this, Muhammad Abdul, Jamal Afghani, Muhammad Iqbal, Abu Hassan Ali Nabi, Abu Alam Maududi, Hasan Al-Banna, and so on, and including that we have right now, Hamid Abu Sulaiman, Yusuf Qardawi here in Malaysia, Syed Najib, and so on, try to give their ideas how to have your own system of education, including science and technology. So starting around this area, one by one, after the fall of Turkey, Ottoman Empire, so we start talking about Islamic education. What we mean by Islamic education is not to forget about the old one, but to bring back the glory of Islamic teaching, Islamic education in all areas. If you see from curriculum in Zaituna University, established 737, and also University of Qarawiyyin in Fes, 859, and also the earlier curriculum in Azhar University, as well as University Sankore. You can find out the study of about astronomy, about logic, about critical thinking is there. It's already put in the curriculum. But I don't have with me right now, but I did some study on that, and you can find out. Of course, they study on the grammar, Arabic grammar, about fiqh, about adab, and about usuluddin, and so on. But at the same time, they also study about science and technology. Of course, the term science and technology was not there because science and technology was a new terminology. So we start, to talk about this, how to bring back the glory of Islam, because our education, become the pillar of our civilization. So that's why in Malaysia too, I think when people don't satisfy, they will establish their own university, their own school, and wherever it is. And finally, we find out so many organizations have their own school because they don't believe that is the system of education, by government or whatever it is. So in 1976, there was an exhibition in London, and they have done this, the Islamization of knowledge, and prominent lecturer like Abdul Hamid Sulaiman, our former IIIT director, Ismail Faruqi, Syed Najib Atta, Taha Jabewani, and scholars of Muslim, come together and have a dialogue in that, and they come up with the concept of Islamization of knowledge. So people start asking, why Islamization of knowledge? Knowledge is not Islamized. What do you mean by Islamization of knowledge? Is there any knowledge who is astray, go away from Islam, and so on and so on? Because in Islam they said, when somebody pass away, only three things that he will bring. One is that sadaqatul jariyah, is the sadaqah jariyah that he did during his life. Number two is ilman nafi'ah. The ilman nafi'ah means the beneficial knowledge. Knowledge which can benefit the ummah, can benefit himself. And number three is waladul saleh, the children saleh, good children. But here waladul saleh mean, can you explain to me what is ilman nafi'ah? And people start talking about that, and then people start talking about integration of knowledge, and so on. And during our discussion in UKM, we said that the best term that we use is science tawhid. Alhamdulillah, I think Professor Osman Bakar also write this a book about the tawhid and science. So that the science must be put under the tawhid paradigm, because tawhid is very important paradigm in Islam, and it's a very fundamental concept in Islam. And with tawhid, we try to put science under this umbrella of tawhid. So this is what people here try to do. So now, how to approach or to bring this Tawhidic science in reality. So there are 3 steps according to their writing. When they discuss about Islamization of knowledge, they said whether you want to accept or not about this the concept of Islamization or integration at the number 2, but you have to understand 3 things. Number 1 is what is the contemporary science. Number 2, what is the basic framework of this Tawhidic science that we want, and what number 3, and what is the process, the ecosystem of the knowledge in Islam. Is it only science and so on? And we have to understand this. So I try to understand to share with you the concept of secular science right now. So of course, you have to make a lot of reference. So this is my reference here. 1, of course, I use the dictionary. Number 2, I use this statement by Mortimer Adler. You know, Mortimer Adler is the chief editor of Science of Encyclopedia Britannica, and Krams, he's doing PhD in philosophy of science, particularly the contemporary scientists. And then Peter Medowa, his book on he write about the limit of science, that science is not everything. You need to have another type of knowledge other than science. But he was Nobel laureate in 1960 in physiology, in zoology. And Syarah Mazen is a professor in Malaysia who promoted the idea of philosophy of science in Malaysia. And also Tobiha, who in the old days frequently come to Malaysia to give talk on the philosophy of science. So this is some of some of the references that I have done in order to understand this. So according to this definition of science, there are 2 important entities in science. One is man. We are the man. As a main driver, as a creature, not any other animal, not also ape, who has the ability to question or to reason out all these phenomena systematically and logically. One is man. So that's why, according to Peter Medowa, according to Mortimer Adler, what is science? Science is curiosity. Science is curiosity. You must have that sense of curiosity. Otherwise, you cannot. Why plant need water in order to grow? Why copper cable can conduct electricity? Why wood cannot conduct heat or electricity, but it burn off? There is no liquid form of wood, for instance. So if you have sense of this curiosity, that is the beginning of scientific idea in yourself. So you start with the curiosity. So in secular science, we have 2 entities. One is man, and another one is our nature around us. What is atom? What is this animal? And this nature, of course, they have their own nature. Allah gives them tabi'i. I mean, every like beast, they have their tabi'at, they have the nature. That beast and fly also have the nature, ant also have the nature, and everything have the nature. This object will fall down if I reach from certain height. This is the nature. So all this what they call it nature have nature, which the man can explain, or the man can understand, or the man can interact. And when men understand the nature, they can make use of the nature. I repeat, when men understand the nature, they can make use the nature. I give you the example. Rubber was not from Malaysia, from Brazil. It's wild plant. And then, but rubber was badly needed during Second World War and before Second World War. Very badly needed. But they cannot plant it in UK. They put in Kew Garden, but doesn't grow very well because the climate is not with them. So they put in Singapore, and they found out that time Singapore was with Malaya at the time, and it grew very well. So what British did, they established the Rubber Research Institute. Of course, they brought a lot of Indian from India because the local people go against them. So they already colonized India. So they bring experts from India and to men, at the same time their own people, and they establish what they call it Rubber Research Institute. So by understanding the nature of rubber tree, they can grow rubber tree very well. They can get the product, which is rubber itself. So then you can make use of this. Similarly, what happened to palm oil? Palm oil was not from Malaysia; it's from Ghana, and they put in Malaysia. And they before putting palm oil in Malaysia, they established what they call it PORIM in the old days, Palm Oil Research Institute of Malaysia, PORIM, now MPOB, Malaysian Palm Oil Board, and they have a research section, and they do a lot of research in the palm oil. Then they plant, and finally it grew very well. They produce a lot of very good and become a commodity of our country. So nature has a nature which can be understood by human being, and we can take benefit of it. Bee is very hard, bee can sting on you, whatever. But when we know the nature of bees, we can make use of the bees, and the price of honey bees is very expensive. So this is principle of science. One, in secular science, we only have man and we have nature. So what is science? Based on that, this will explain in this thing. Okay, I'll go back to sorry. Yeah, what is science? Traditionally, is systematic and formulated knowledge, meaning that this is a dictionary, and formulated meaning that you can conclude. After you study on palm oil, you can conclude. Your conclusion is that yes, palm oil can be grown in Malaysia very well, or in this area. So we can grow in Indonesia as well, and in Thailand as well. So you come to the conclusion after systematic studies. Similarly, after you study on the Galileo Galilei put a big object and small object, big stone and small stone, and released from Pisa Tower, and they found out the stone arrived on the ground with the same time, and he said his conclusion. So he said that an object does not depend on the size of the body. If both body are stone, similar, but if you replace one with stone, another one with feather or with cotton, and you find out the cotton come later, arrive on ground later. So when they studied, they found that is because of the air resistance. And when they vacuum it, they found it, they fell at the same time. So you can got the conclusion. And based on that conclusion, people can invent, or people have a creative enough, and they make a hydropower, whatever it is, because water come from higher part to the lower part, and then it can change the energy, potential energy, into the electrical energy. So this is science. So systematic studies based on observation. And Gotama Adler is more comprehensive. Science is a search for rational explanation. Here the term is search, the ability to search, the ability to find rational explanation for natural phenomena. That's why we cannot explain rationally about Isra Miraj. So that is not science. About natural phenomena, meaning Isra Miraj is not natural phenomena. So according to Cram, the word nature or natur in Latin then become nature, where Latin scientia is the knowledge about nature. So it is according to them, according to Cram, it is physics actually. So finally, the study of nature is considered science. So in conclusion, according to Cram, science is the aggregate of systematic and methodological knowledge concerning nature, developed by speculation, observation, and experiment, so leading to objective law of governing. You can get law. Without water, plant cannot grow. That is the law, and their explanation. So, according to Peter Medowa, science is new term, new words from these 12 words. So, it's not word during Islamic era. It's not a word during Greek era, but it's during the Renaissance, during Western science. So, but here, you put not here, but not all knowledge can be considered as scientific. So, they realize that some of the knowledge you cannot explain scientifically, but they try. So, because they cannot look at the single person, like how much I love my wife is single person, no? Very hard. Because my wife's character is not the same as the character of other wife, you know. So then this woman, different person have different character, but you can statistically study. I mean, when you have enough number, like people predict the election in Malaysia right now, if you have a big number, you can use statistic in order to study. So they use this statistic in order to know about the concept of happiness, but it's not 100% perfect because it is based on statistic. So what is happiness then? Until today, people cannot explain. So they just put in objective manner, such as if I got a lot of money, then I'm happy. If I have a beautiful wife, I'm happy. If I have a beautiful house, I'm happy. If I have a good car, I'm happy. So people start to relate, but actually happiness is not that. Because in Islam in particular, sometimes people give a lot of donation. They are happy. That's why they give a lot of donation. Sometimes people, you know, they donate a lot of, like what happened to Sahaba. They spend a lot of the money for other people. That's part of their happiness. Sayyidina Osman, he bought this well, you know, and wakaf to the people in Medina. Because he thinks this is his responsibility. That one is not sign. You cannot using sign in order to justify that happiness. So that is so according to Peter Medowa, what is sign? Sign is knowledge whose information as a result of observation is generated and developed by systematically with divine method and so on. So I can so there is a lot of explanation here. So about this thing, but this is just for notes. Just I want to give it to you actually. So finally we can find this is the Professor Sharia. He took it from Peter Medowa. He took it from Mortimer Adler and whatever it is, and he conclude himself by saying this. This is definition given by Sharia, and in this bracket myself. Science is the analysis of natural phenomena systematically, rationally, objectively, with a devised method, scientific, which we call it scientific method, that are intended to improve our trustworthy knowledge which can be trust. That's why we have to make what we call it error analysis. Error analysis in science is not indication of whether your research is good or not. Just is indicate that the scientists know the limit of their knowledge. The scientists know the limit of their research, that they cannot 100% perfect. That's why in the old days, people say that what is atom? Atom is the smallest particle ever exists in a matter. You know, and then that was Dalton. That's what John Dalton thesis or theory of atom by John Dalton. But later on, when people conduct study and try to understand further, particularly J.J. Thomson, and he found out atom is not the smallest particle. There is electron and proton, which is smaller than atom, because atom consists of proton and neutron and electron. So there is another entity, another things which is smaller than atom. So, I mean, the moment J.J. Thomson mentioned that theory put forward by John Dalton collapsed. But we don't forget, we don't just neglect the theory, because based on the evolution of knowledge, we can understand how people understand this atom. And then come Rutherford, do some more experiment, and they find out there is charge, positive charge, negative charge, and positive charge at the center of the core center of atom, and whatever it is, and then come Niels Bohr saying, no, that is not the atom. Atom is like sun moving around us, and sun moving around us, and moving around moon moving around us, and moon moving around us. Then the sun and the moon together moving around in secular form around sun. And he said that this is same thing with the electron. And now we start saying that the theory, we call it the planetary theory of atom. And today, atom is not like that. All that cannot, is normal theory on the smallest particle. People say about the string theory now, quark and whatever it is, and so on and so on. So that's why we say here trustworthy knowledge which can be trusted at that particular time. And we believe when time go further, when there is more, accurate instrument can be invented, the knowledge about that particular thing can be more understood. So this is what people do. So meaning that science is not absolute knowledge. It changes from time to time. So how can you say that science is absolute knowledge? Science is not absolute knowledge. And people say to me, 2 times 5 is equal to 5 times 2. That is 2.5. 2 times 5. Science is not 2 times 5. Science is the understanding of the phenomena. But that number is very important, because without that number, we cannot, you cannot repeat your experiment. You cannot. That number will assist us in order to understand this nature. So science is not just number. Science is how you understand this nature, because all nature has their nature, it has their tabi'i given by God, but not necessarily we have like that, because Allah will interfere. When somebody pray, because he was fitnah by somebody, make fitnah on him, and then he prayed to God, and God tried to, will try help him. Sometimes through this manner, which you don't understand, but Allah will help you. That's why there is a lot in ayat Quran mentioning about that Allah will help you from the way that you don't understand. If you trust in Allah, believe in Allah, with pure belief, trustworthy, and you will find that Allah will help you. So the key word here is the ability, in order to develop science, the ability to analyze natural phenomena. This is the word, analyze natural phenomena. So first, you must have the curiosity on the natural phenomena, and then the ability to analyze. Number 2, systematically, rationally, objectively, meaning that you have to design a particular instrument so that like you say, the plant need water in order to grow. Of course, you have to design experiment for school children, for university students, maybe for research in a high level. Of course, you need a better instrument. So, and then put your rationale and do it objectively. Objectively mean uncolored by feeling or uncolored by culture or religion. So that's why you have to put aside this religion, get here. So that's why God does not exist in science for secular science. So number 3, you must divide method. We call it scientific method. but can be experimental method. In biology, they have their own method. In chemistry, they have their own method. In physics, we have our own method. But this method must be accepted by the scholars in this area, by the community on this area. So that's why when we devise our scientific method, we have to spell out, we have to mention in our paper how we devise it. We use SEM, scanning electron microscope. We use FTIR. You use what instrument? So people in other university or people in Japan and Korea, they can use the same thing and the same instrument and repeat the experiment. So maybe when they repeat, actually they just want to understand as well. Maybe they discover new thing. So this is science. And number 4, improve our understanding. So by devise this method, by systematically rationally understand that, and then we can improve our understanding of that particular nature. And trustworthy knowledge, meaning that we need, I mentioned to you just now, we need error analysis. So people in Japan, people in America, people in Malaysia, maybe we conduct same experiment, same study on same areas of whatever thing that we want to do, but our understanding will improve. And once a year or maybe twice a year, we have a discussion, we have seminar, we have a colloquium, and we discuss, we present our paper. This is how science is developed. Secular science being developed right now. So, because we believe first, all scientists believe that nature is in order. So, Islam Miraj not in order. Prophet Ibrahim put on fire, did not burn. It's not in order. It's again the order of nature. So that is not science. So the science only study something which is in order. Human have the ability. So nature has the order, human has the ability. So we have to think. So nature and human. So number 4, with this rationale, so we try to reason out and then make the conclusion. This is what Tobihak mentioned about how we develop science. So I give you the example for nature in order. So scientists believe that object definitely fall when released from a height. This is what they believe. A hot fire definitely burns. The term is hot fire must burn. Object must fall when released from a certain height. A sharp knife must cut. So that's why we use a very sharp knife. This is what scientists believe. Water definitely cannot be chopped into pieces. But if you try to tell them what happened to Moses alayhi salam, that is purely unscientific. It's purely mu'jizat. Trees definitely need sunlight to grow and so on and so on. So this is what. So the observation must be objective, meaning that you have to put aside your feeling, your color, your culture, whatever it is. That's why whether you are white or black, you are Chinese or non-Chinese or Western people or Malay or whatever it is, the color is not appear here. So the culture is not appear here. The religion does not appear here, because this world have a law, this world have an order which we can understand it. So where subject knowledge in human life such as this we cannot discuss here. So science cannot discuss scientifically about human value, about happiness. So the problem that we have now, particularly in Malaysia, we talk about the human economy or economy manusiawi, for instance, because we think that in our economy right now, we lost our humanity in pursuit of this economic gain. We lost our humanity because we don't emphasize in our school. Similarly, when we emphasize on science and technology, we don't emphasize on the human. So science lost their human values, human dignity. people now start talking about this when we are in AI, artificial intelligence era, where the thing that we invented can replace human beings. Meaning that in the old days they keep in their house dogs and cat in the house in order to relieve their tension, whatever it is. Now you can have a gadget, you can have whatever it is, this AI instrument or AI things that can release your tension, whatever it is. Okay, now evergreen question for the last, from decade, from during era of Greek civilization until today. This is what people like to ask you, One is, does this world have a beginning? This is what Al-Ghazali mentioned in his book, call it Tahafut al-Falasifah. Because according to Aristotle, this world have no beginning and has no ending. So, this world is this world. So, okay, if so, if it has beginning, this in the old day, there's no. This world is eternal. But when scientists say no, this world has a beginning, people start. If so, if it had a beginning, when and why it started? When it started and why it started? This is the question. Until today, nobody can answer this question. Who initiated the process? Normally, if you have a thing in the stable, there will be no explosion, no whatever, it's no beginning. It's unstable. So when they say that it explodes, it's Big Bang theory, it's explode very big, and then they start asking, what initiate the explosion? This is another question. This is a very good question. What is the ending? What will happen toward the end? And is there another realm out there, or another power, or another, or do we have only one world? So what is matter? In matter, what is the matter? The basic matter, what are the basic matter of element? Then people start asking the atom, and then atom will start asking about electron, proton, neutron, and then they go to quarks, and go on and so on. So how matter constructed? How we construct this matter? Okay, I have this pen, blue one. So how the atom was constructed in order to have this big picture of matter? This is in physics normally. So what happened to the matter if there are two or more elementary substance inside that? So normally we not only have single, like sodium chloride. They have contains from sodium and chloride. H2O become water. Two component of hydrogen, one component of oxygen become water. So can you separate that? When you separate that, suddenly become gas, no more in liquid form. So you start to ask about this question. So how matter interact? How this interaction happen? And then what's then the next question? This is in life sciences. What's the beginning? What's the origin of life? Are human part of living thing in this planet? This is commonly asked by people. And I think Al-Qur'an mentioned clearly, we are not from this. We are from heaven. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created Adam and Eve, Adam and Hawa, in the Jannah. And then after that, Allah Ta'ala said to Malaikat, wa iz qala rabbuka lil malaikati inni ja'ilun fil ardi khalifah. Then he said to angel that he is going to bring down, fill up on this earth, Khalifa, meaning that we are not from here. So people believe we are from A because they believe we are from here. Tapi Al-Qur'an say that we are not from here. We are from heaven. Our ancestor, the beginning of us is not from here. And then from Adam and Hawa, then become all of us, and we were born here in this world. We were born here, not created here. We were born here, and then we will pass away here, and then Allah Ta'ala will create, Yawmul Akhirat, and so on. So the answer to this question, we also need to know the concept of space and time. To answer this question, that is the problem. Because when people put forward to me, can you explain the phenomena, the events of Isra Mi'raj? I said, first thing we have to understand, what is which space that Rasulullah SAW went to? If this is this world space or Jannah sphere or whatever it is. Because Rasulullah did meet Adam alaihi salam, Ibrahim alaihi salam. They already passed away. You can go to Jerusalem right now and visit their grave. They've already passed away. But he met them in life. So where he met this people? So you have to understand that space that Rasulullah speak to the Adam and other prophet, and mass and time. So we have to understand all these things in order to answer this question. In terms of secular science, of course, in terms of as a knowledge, as a science, we have to understand the basic concept of space as well. And then, okay, I think now it's 10:51. Do I need to stop here? Madam Juwairah, is it time now? Or I continue? I think I better continue.
Yes, Prof. Exactly. We have break, but because of Prof continue directly, inshallah, never mind. If you allow student to have a Q&A, then we open Q&A first. In the chat box, Prof, we have the question also.
Okay. Lot of question now.
There is a student need to need to raise the hand. Let me find him again. He want to ask the question. Yes, it's him.
Can you repeat?
Just now, brother Muhammad, right? Bro, there is in chat box, Prof.
Yeah.
From brother Abdurrahman. Omar Zaka. He asked about, Prof, could you clarify about Harun Yahya? Is he right or wrong in this study?
I'm not saying that he's right or wrong, but the approach, I think, science, the approach to science and the approach to religion is not the same. No, the approach to science and the approach to religion is not the same. In religion, we have gods, which I will explain to you next week, inshallah. So, the occurrence, because as I mentioned to you several times, science is not absolute knowledge. It changes. There is sound. Science is not the absolute knowledge. It changes from time to time. So, because it changes from time to time, so if you have new instrument, new method, you can find a new evidence. So Harun Yahya concept of evolutionary theories is from whatever it is. You have to check that, because Islam don't tell you that. Allah said clearly in the Surah Al-Baqarah, verse number 30, wa iz qala rabbuka lil malaikati inni ja'ilun fil ardi khalifah. And Allah mentioned to angels that Allah would like to bring down, meaning that we are not from here. So how can you say that the
human being is, come from species of ape. That is enough. And then the scientific method is very limited. I mentioned to you several times. Scientific method cannot explain the event of Isra Mi'raj. Science cannot explain to you how Jesus alayhi salam revive the dead man. He can revive him. It's not, because that is mu'jizat. So a lot of things happen in this world. It's not just due to the natural phenomena, but also from Allah SWT. But of course, because Allah SWT appoint us as the Khalifatullah fil ard, viceroy of God, and Allah asks us to manage this world. I cannot manage this world if I don't understand the nature of this world. So Allah gives us a small piece of knowledge so that I can be a good Khalifatullah fil ard. How can I plant a tree, I mentioned to you just now about palm oil, if I don't understand the nature of this palm oil? So Allah gives me the ability, not other creatures. So the ability to understand this nature is very limited. Limited because we want to do our work as a viceroy of God, as a Khalifatullah fil ard. So that Allah give this thing, but not all. Like, I don't know until today how much my wife loved me, but I know, I can feel from my heart, but I cannot explain because that is not in physical term. But I can feel the things. So how could you clarify about Hadaya? Is it right or wrong in this study? I don't say right or wrong, but I just saying that scientific knowledge is very limited in order to understand the nature of things given in the Al-Qur'an. Okay. The next one, I'm not biologist. I don't understand the D2 molecule, whatever it is. I therefore conclude science is limited. Yes, there is a book about it by Peter Meadow, The Limit of Science.
Prof, I think Brother Muhammad Yahya, if you want to ask direct question, you can unmute yourself. Muhammad Yaqub, sorry, Muhammad Yaqub. You can unmute yourself, brother. Unmute, please. If because you want to have a question just now.
Okay.
I think he cannot, but he already asked in the chat box, Prof.
Yeah. Okay.
The question from him here is, Sir, maybe Prof, can science be viewed subjectively, especially in social studies?
Which one? Which question? Oh, you unmute yourself. I don't see.
From Muhammad Yaqub.
Yeah. So he asked about
science. Can science be viewed subjectively, especially in social study?
Yeah, not 100%. But I think your people in social science use only part of science in order to explain their nature. They use particularly in statistics. if you study psychology, which I did long time ago, you find out a lot of statistics being used for human being in order to understand human nature, meaning that they are not looking, as a scientist look at this only probability. That is sometimes my personal, I'm sorry to say this, when people study about religiosity, you know, the new subject, religiosity, the latter subject concerning about to find peaceful when you obey, or when you say matra or whatever thing in Islamic, maybe when we pray salah or we perform our siyam, our fasting, you can find tranquility and whatever it is. They try to find out statistically the effect of our prayer to our life. So they can, actually, I'm worried about this, because if, let's say, if a Hindu say some mantra and then they found out it is calm and whatever it is it Hindu and Islam are the same? That is my worry. So, because the study of religiosity right now, due to the fact that people tend to forget about religion, so there are a group of people come say that no, our aim of life is to seek happiness, but we cannot find happiness in science and technology. We can only find happiness in religious duty. So they try to understand, but you have to make all religions are equal. So I think it's wrong, because religion is not equal. We believe in one God, for instance. Some people believe in many gods, and in the Greek civilization, they have many gods, and in the Trinity, there are 3 types of gods. So what differ one religion to another religion is understanding of the gods. Surely we are not the same. So you cannot use only religiosity in order to find out happiness, for instance, in this case. That's my comment. So they only use mathematics, part of science, which is statistically, they say, okay, we are fine when we perform our fasting in Ramadan. Toward the end, we find tranquility, we find happiness, but still happiness is still subject to the subject differ from human being to another human being. Okay.
I think that's all for the question. Can Prof proceed with our lecture?
Yeah, okay. I think I'm going to the last part, which is about the conclusion of our today lectures, which is secular science. All right. So I think I just skip this one, and you can get from Madam Joera about this slide. I will give it to you, inshallah, after this. Also, the implication of secular science. I think 7 implication, 8 and then we go to the secular science. Just now, I can present the secular science in terms of this graphic. It involves 2 entities, which is yeah.
It's because you take 2 sessions together. If you need any tea, we can break for you.
Okay, I will finish with this because only this final slide.
Okay. I think for a little bit explanation for the participant, because Dr. Shaaya, he cannot come because he not feeling well. So our class today will finish by the end of these lectures, inshallah.
Okay, I just share with you a little bit about some comment from No, not comment. Okay, this is conclusion. This is conclusion. In this secular science, we have two entities. One is man, another one is nature. And the relation between man and nature can be can be explained through this figure. So we have man, for instance, it's me, and then I have nature here surround me, and also I have around me another man, other human beings, my wife, my children, my friend, my colleague in office, and so on. So between me, I have other human being which I have to interact humanly. With me in this world, I have nature, so I have to interact. Science is about this relation, okay, man and nature. So what do I have? Allah give me this thing, rational intelligence, akal, the thing that I can rationalize. Not other creatures can do it. That's why when Allah said to Adam, can you please respect, when Allah said to Malaika, the angel, then can you please bow your head to Adam alayhi salam? Then they bow. Then they say, oh God, why you want to have this vicegerent of God who are going to do harmful to this world? So Allah said to them, you do not know, I know better than you. So Allah asked Adam to name things, and Adam can name it. But then Allah Ta'ala asked angel to name it, he cannot. Because by naming it, you just not just name it. I'm in front of me, this is pen. I just, not only pen, but you can understand the nature of pen. What can be used by this pen? Another thing I have in front of me, my handphone. What can be used by handphone? And I understand and everything. So in front of you, you have all this nature which you can understand. You have the rational intelligence in order to understand this nature. So this is God give this us. So we have man, we have nature, we have the ability of rationalizing it. All right, and this nature have tabi'i, has nature, have properties that human that can be understood by human being with certain degree of accuracy. I don't mean 100%. I understand certain percent of degrees, meaning that certain percent have the. Of course, as scientist, I know better in terms of scientific nature of a particular thing compared to the one who don't understand that. Of course, you maybe understand more in human science, whatever it is, in psychology, whatever it is, because your field of area in that area. But as human being, I must understand God. I must have a good behavior, good adab, good akhlaq. So in between, then I have rational intelligence. I have this nature, and then I can use this ability to observe. And I mentioned to you just now in the slide, and also systematically, rationally, and objectively. And number 3, scientific method to understand nature. All this I have to do. But other creatures cannot do it. Be it animal, ape, whatever it is. That's why when you mentioned about Harun Yahya, we have to think human being, not only from genetic, from species, but looking from the ability of man, what they can do in this world. If you look from this angle, you can find human being is much more better. And number 5, scientifically improve on nature. So all this thing you can do. So that's why I keep on telling my student, including yourself maybe, if you don't want, you say enough is enough, I don't want to explore any more of this nature. You can say that to yourself, but you cannot stop other people to understand it. But the moment they understand it, they use that particular thing in order to colonize you. If like in Malaysia right now, we have a lot of, in the old days, we have a gold, we have a tin, and whatever it is. But not people in Malaysia understand it. But people from outside know that we have a lot of mineral. So they come with their knowledge and scientific knowledge. Even the local people don't understand this. And some of us, we know that their country have oil. But the technology, in order to get oil from our resource, you have to. That's why you have to improve. Today, the technology, you can discover things without going to that place, because GPS can do a lot of things. GPS, Global Positioning System. You know the wind motion, the solar irradiation, and so on. So you cannot stop other people from improving their scientific knowledge. When they improve their scientific knowledge, they conquer you. So don't allow that. So we must improve our scientific knowledge, because we are the vice general of God. Now, if you don't improve that, how can you be a good vice general of God in the sense of this scientific, secular science? Of course, when I do this, I understand the nature. I develop science and technology. So science and technology development. So this is me. This is nature. So this is the knowledge that I have to acquire in order to understand this nature. But on this side, of course, I'm not going to discuss it. But I know we have this technology. We also have this thing. We have to understand psychology. We have to understand interpersonal relation. We have to understand the sociology, the anthropology, the politics, the economy, and so on and so on. And maybe you can add on. Of course, this all the human relation. So I'm not going to deal in my lecture. My lecture is only on this, right? So as a man, this scientific knowledge, secular science only deal with nature without God. And then we deal with other human beings also without God. So with what? So you can question that. So maybe we look at money. Maybe we look at whether we can whatever it is for the worldly gaining. Because there is no God. We don't do things because of God. We do things because of human being. Because we want to be recognized by them that you are a good person. You got your PhD. You do it because of the worldly things. So you acquire also science and technology because of worldly thing. You know the psychology, interpersonal, because of the worldly thing. Because God does not exist here. So you, as a Muslim, if you study science in this manner, meaning that you have to have another knowledge which make you closer to God, which is our religion. So I will discuss this in Tawhidic science, maybe inshallah next week. So for today, this is my conclusion for today's lecture, except if you want to ask me on this particular subject. So this is what we're talking just until today is secular science. And before that, I just mentioned to you about the development of science and technology from one civilization to another civilization. And in Greek civilization, yeah, they believe in God, but when they deal with science, God does not exist. So in the Byzantium, also they clash among themselves, and then they accept that you can deal with science, but don't put God or don't put religions in this thing. But in Islam, I mentioned to you, we understand this through Islam first, through our religion first. We, all the brothers, all the Sahaba, they are very fanatic. I mentioned to you, they are very fanatic. They are very fundamental. They know the fundamental of Islam. They know what is the basic thing in Islam. They know the Aqidah, they know everything. And they want to acquire knowledge, scientific knowledge, because there are some sick people among themselves. Some people got ill. They want to cure them. They want to improve their standard of life, whatever it is. So, of course, they need science and technology. But they never separate science and technology with their religious, with their God, with their religious study. So, they put Islam in their, they put science in their religious mode. And until up to the about 10 centuries, 11 centuries, and when so many people accept this, I'm sorry to say this, Mu'tazilah, which is until you can prove, you can accept. this is another school of thought in Islam, which we call it Mu'tazilah. And then when this Mu'tazilah idea come, Al-Ghazali come to solve this problem. And Al-Ghazali said that, no, the philosophy is okay. The natural philosophy is also okay. But if you try to put your philosophy, your knowledge of this thing on other things, like there is this world has no beginning, for instance, or for instance, I can mention you the concept of infinity. Infinity, actually in Islam, there's no infinity, because infinity means only Allah has this infinity. Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, Al-Malik Al-Quddus, the most powerful, the most Rahim, the infinite. If you say that you love your father or your mother, but remember, God loves you more than other things. So, meaning that the infinity part is belong to God. So what we need is in the world is optimum. What is the amount money you need in order to survive in this world? So if you have more, it's okay. You have the wakaf, you have donations, sadaqah, you have a lot of things you can do. Some people make sadaqah, some people make wakaf, some people, but because how much money, how much income I need per month in order to live in this world with 5 children, for instance. Of course, they have one children. I have 7 children, so I need more money. So okay, the rest of that, this is Allah Ta'ala give that money to us in order to make sadaqah. That's why sadaqah jariyah become one of the. Now, when you pass away, the first one is sadaqah jariyatun. That's still with you. So meaning that Allah give you a chance to give more money and in order to put for the next, for the hereafter. That for the Muslim when they interact with science, meaning they acquire science and technology, but at the same time they have a good knowledge on their own religions. So they this we will discuss inshallah next week. But for secular science, God does not exist here. So I put here, you can see this is human science, and then on the right there, you can see God does not exist in that frame, in this epistemology. Okay, I think I stop there for if you want to have a discussion. Otherwise, I finish my lecture today. Juira?
Okay, Prof. We open for second Q&A now. Any one of us want to have the question, you can raise your hand, or you can if you cannot raise your hand, you can chat in the chat box. You want to raise your hand, also I can unmute you. I will check in the chat box. Brother Adorado, you want to say something? Brother Adorado.
Adorado voice. New voice is coming.
Okay, Brother Adorado, I already unmute you here. If you want to say something to Prof, you can unmute yourself. Okay, bro. Muhammad. Yeah.
So there is no question actually.
Brother Muhammad, he want to have a question maybe. Okay, you already unmuted. Yeah, but we don't hear your sound, brother. Brother Muhammad Yaqub.
Prof, I don't have any question because the topic or the lecture was substantially explained.
Okay. There is one Brother Manzur Elahi. Yeah, if we put God in secular sign, we cannot. What would be changed in the relationship between men? We cannot put God in secular sign. We put God in secular sign. Inshallah, we'll explain to you next week how to put God. That's the issue. How we are going to put God in our sign. We cannot use secular sign. Surely we cannot use. So we have to understand ourselves first as a vicegerent of God. So this, inshallah, Brother Manzur, I will discuss with the class, inshallah, next week.
From Abdullah Abdonor.
Meaning of anthropology.
He asked the question, Prof.
Yeah, what meaning of anthropology, bro? Yeah, you can go to the dictionary and from this this is about sociology, social science. The subject under social science. It's not from me. I think I'm not the proper person to answer your question. This is from anthropologists and this is from human science. But in science, we're talking about interpersonal. We're talking about psychology. We are talking about personal interaction. You know, we're talking about also at the outside. We're talking about economy. We're talking about politics. We're talking about how to develop today, for instance, environmental. You know, because environment is not because of science, because people use science in order to destroy environment, unfortunately. So it's not the issue of science. Science is good, but people use science for their own purposes. Because I'm a solar energist. My research is on solar energy, and we did a seminar, World Renewable Energy Congress in Kuala Lumpur last week, and then. People ask, you know, how to save this world, you know. So I said, technology cannot save this world. The human being. That's why Rasulullah, you know, they produce ta'adib. I mean, people who have proper adab first, people who have a good manner, and then these people who have a good manner, who has good akhlaq, when they become politician, they will be a very good politician. When they become economic, they will be a very good economist. When they are scientists, they will become very good scientists. They will not do something which is going to harm this world. So that's why you have to have this element first, this knowing the God first. Okay, then we discuss next week, inshallah. Okay. Okay.
This we are closing, Prof. Yusuf.
I have another lecture, isn't it? I want to talk about comedic science.
Okay, you have another lecture. Can we have a break for about 15-20 minutes?
Oh, okay. Oh, today you mean?
Betul?
Oh no,
okay.
no. I told you today you have 2 lectures. So another lecture will be next week. Is it alright? Next week?
And then I finish today. Next week no more.
Not sick. No, next week one more lecture.
Next week one more lecture.
This week.
And then I finish.
We can stop today. We can stop here today.
Yeah, and I continue next week another lecture.
Just to inform the student that Professor Saiyah is not able to come today. Okay. That's why his class has been taken over by Yusuf.
Yeah.
Today 1 hour. So there won't be any more lecture after this, because the students are asking. There is no break in the lectures after the lectures. So that's why I answered. I told them there won't be any lecture after the end of your lecture today. So this is the last slot for today.
Yes.
So next week we are going to meet again Prof. Yusuf another lecture, Prof. Kasule another lecture, and then there is one invited on economics will be given by Professor Shafi'i Antonio for 2 hours.
Okay.
So that will be the last week for next week, inshallah.
Inshallah.
So thank you very much, Prof. Inshallah.
Okay,
Thank you for accommodating the time today.
okay.
Okay. So, Sita Jaria, can we close the session?
Yeah, Dato. Prof, we have end already our class today.
Okay.
Okay. May Allah grant you with Jannatul Firdaus and
Amin.
barakah fil ilmi.
Amin.
Okay, before we end our class, we have a little bit recitation the dua. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin wal akibatu lil muttaqin wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Allahumma ij'al jam'ana hadza jam'an marhuma wa tafarruqana min ba'dihi tafarruqan ma'suma wa la taj'al fina wa la ma'ana wa la man yattabi'una saqiya wa la matruda wa la mahruma. Allahumma ij'al khaira a'marina akhiruhu wa khaira a'malina khawatimuhu wa khaira ayyamina yawma alqaka fih. Allahumma ighfir lana dhunubana Allahumma ighfir lana dhunubana wa li ikhwanina alladhina sabaquna bil iman wa la taj'al fi qulubina ghillan lil ladzina amanu Rabbana innaka ra'ufur rahim. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah wa qina adzaban nar. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Thank you very much, Prof.
Okay. Assalamualaikum.
See you next class, Prof.
See
Assalamualaikum.
you next week, inshallah, Prof. And for all the others, that's all for our lecture today, inshallah. So we are going to meet again next week for the last week. And then we hope Prof. Yusuf will be able to prepare about 12 questions for the student. Prof? So Jaria will inform Prof. About preparing.
Yes, Prof. Yes, he already left now, just now.
Okay, Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And thank you to all participants. Inshallah, we'll meet again in the next session. Inshallah, next class, not next session, next class. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.